light still glowing from the apartment window, and instant messages waiting. Face down on the table on my running shoes, sat quietly near the door like they already knew. The city felt overcrowded tonight, too many thoughts, too many voices, too much pressure stacked inside my chest with nowhere clean to place it down. So I stepped outside slowly, hood pulled tight, cool air against my face, streetlights stretching across wet pavement, while the first few breaths still sounded heavier than they should have. Just enough room to breathe again, not for pace, not for distance, just enough movement to quiet the noise inside a mind that forgot how to rest. The playlist kept looping softly through old wired earphones, traffic fading behind footsteps, river air cooling sweat, while tension slowly loosens its grip around my shoulders. Some nights the run becomes conversation between exhausted lungs and an exhausted life, both trying carefully to survive another week without collapsing completely. I used to think running meant pushing harder, but certain miles aren't about discipline, they're about recovery, about finding enough calm to continue tomorrow. Just enough running to breathe again became its own kind of therapy. Quiet roads, steady footsteps, small moments where my thoughts finally stopped fighting each other. For someone, running is performance. For someone, competition. For someone, just the safest place to fall apart privately without explaining anything. And none of those reasons make the run smaller, because survival sometimes looks like movement through empty streets after emotionally heavy days. The older I become, the more I admire people who protect their peace before burnout arrives, people who notice their spirit thinning out and choose movement gently. Just enough running to breathe again still saves me sometimes, not dramatically, not instantly, but enough to remind me I'm still here beneath the stress. People celebrate intensity because intensity looks powerful, but softer endurance often keeps people alive longer, the kind that listens before the body breaks completely. And maybe healing doesn't always arrive through answers. Maybe sometimes it arrives quietly through wet sidewalks, steady breathing, and one more nighttime run. Just enough running to breathe again, that was all I needed tonight. Not perfection, not transformation, just enough distance to feel my heartbeat return to something human again. Wet pavement, cold night air, steady breath, still running. My shoes scrape softly against the uneven pavement, breathing heavier than I wanted tonight.
While cyclists passed easily through cold evening air without looking tired at all.
The running watch vibrated, another slower split screen glowing against sweat as frustration tightened quietly somewhere between my chest and the silence inside these headphones. It's easy to admire speed from far away, smooth strides, clean progress, people posting distances that make your own effort feel smaller than it is. Under every swollen there's effort, hidden beneath tired breathing, beneath heavy legs, beneath quiet self-doubt. 'cause not every battle looks impressive from the outside while it's being fought.
Some nights I stopped at crosswalks longer than the signal required, pretending to fix my playlist
while secretly trying to steady my breathing
before moving again.
And still, those slower miles carry things, stress from work, unfinished thoughts, pressure nobody noticed except the road beneath me every night.
I expected progress to feel more visible, but real endurance often hides itself
inside ordinary people,
quietly continuing
through difficult weeks. Under every slow run there's effort, even if nobody applauds it, even if the numbers disappoint you, because consistency
sometimes sounds like tired footsteps
returning home
after another long day.
For someone, the slow run is recovery.
For someone,
mental survival.
for someone,
proof they didn't stay home
when life already felt too heavy to carry comfortably.
And none of those reasons make the effort smaller,
Because unseen struggles still consume energy,
even when the world
can't measure them properly.
The older I become, the more I respect people who continue imperfectly, without needing validation, without pretending. Their progress always feels inspiring. Under every slow run there's effort.
I understand that deeply now,
Because some of the hardest seasons of my life
we're hidden beneath rungs
those look ordinary to everyone else.
People notice fast runners,
Because speed catches attention,
but slower miles,
often carry heavier stories,
invisible weight
moving quietly
through city streets at night.
And maybe strength isn't dominating the road,
Maybe it's returning to it
even after exhausting days
that emptied most of your spirit.
before you arrived. Under every slow run there's effort,
More than numbers can explain.
because some people aren't only training legs, they're rebuilding themselves
One difficult mile at a time.
Red traffic light, uneven breathing,
Still moving. Moving.
da 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 da. Those shoelaces. Loose shoelaces, cold evening air, the playlist buffering slowly outside the station, while nervous footsteps echoed across the pavement, still wet from earlier rain. Back then, 1 kilometer felt enormous, lungs burning quickly, watch check too often, pretending traffic lights were planned rest stops instead of excuses. I thought progress belonged to naturally driven people, the ones already fast, already confident, already built for difficult things. From the beginning, small starts still matter, even awkward ones, even uncertain ones, because most meaningful journeys don't begin beautifully, they begin quietly with someone choosing not to stay still. There were runs where I turned back early, walked more than expected, stood beneath vending machine lights, catching breath slowly while pretending to check my phone again. And still, those smaller efforts stack themselves somewhere inside my body, inside my thinking, inside the person I was becoming. I expected change to run dramatically, but real growth moved differently, through repeated evenings, through ordinary streets, through showing up again tomorrow. Small starts still matter, because confidence rarely arrives first. Most people begin unsure, wondering privately they even belong on roads like this at all. For someone, the small start is fitness. For someone, look impressive immediately. Some arrive quietly through tired schedules, cheap running shoes, and playlists nobody else hears. The older I become, the more I respect people willing to begin badly, without guarantees, without talent, without needing to look ready first. Small starts still matter. I know that now because some of the strongest people I've ever met once stood exactly where I stood, breathing hard. After 1 mile, people admire consistency after it becomes visible. But nobody sees the fragile beginning, where doubt speaks louder than momentum every single night. And maybe courage isn't huge action. Maybe it's tying your shoes while part of you still believes staying home would feel easier. Small starts still matter, even years later, because every long distance, every stronger version of yourself, every impossible dream once began with one uncomfortable first step. Quiet street, slow breathing, still starting. Sweat cooling slowly through the back of my shirt. Crosswalk lights blinking across empty streets. Spiraling another unfinished chorus kept circling quietly inside tired lungs. Convenience store doors opened, warm air brushing past me. Sports drink in one hand, phone glowing in the other, as another thought arrived before exhaustion could erase it again. So I pressed record softly, breathing still uneven, half-written lyrics, broken melodies, traffic noise between sentences, like the city itself was listening for a moment. Voice memos full of maybe someday, saved between long runs, late shifts and restless nights. Tiny future versions of myself, speaking through static, refusing to fade completely. Some recording stopped suddenly, footsteps crossing intersections, train sounds overhead, wine cutting through riverside paths. Moments where doubt sat beside me, quiet enough to hear my heartbeat clearly. Others carry strange honesty, the kind fatigue creates, where ambition loses performance and turns into something simpler, more human, more difficult to abandon. I used to think dreams arrive fully formed, loud enough to change everything, but most survive differently inside, exhausted, breathing after kilometer 7, walking home alone. Voice memos full of maybe someday became proof that part of me stayed moving, even when progress slowed, even when practical life tried reducing every dream into something safer. For someone, the recording becomes a song. For someone, a marathon goal. For someone, it's evidence their inner world didn't go silent yet. And none of those recordings sound polished. Some carry vending machine noise, wet asphalt footsteps, passing bicycles, or tired breathing through old wire earphones. The older I become, the more I admire people who continue creating after draining days, without waiting to feel fully recovered before trying again. Voice memos full of maybe someday still glow inside my pocket. Unfinished hooks, fragile plasma, surviving sparks from every exhausted version of me that kept running anyway. People celebrate finished work because completion feels clean, but unfinished recordings carry fingerprints of real life. Heavy breathing, background traffic, and hope interrupted halfway through. And maybe creativity isn't confidence at all. Maybe it's pressing record anyway, while standing beneath street lights, wondering if this dream still has distance left. Voice memos full of maybe someday. I replay them after long runs sometimes, not because 'cause hidden inside those rough recordings, I still hear someone chasing tomorrow, one tired step at a time. Wet pavement, low battery, quiet heartbeat still recording. The AM kitchen light, half-drunk coffee going cold, microwave clock blinking like it's waiting for someone to finally sleep. Work shoes left crooked near the apartment door, phone battery at 3%. Group chats muted while another unfinished idea stays awake inside my head. There was a time I thought dreams belonged to energetic people, the loud ones, the fearless ones who never look tired in public. Exhausted hearts still glow too, even after long shifts. Empty trains, missed weekends, and nights spent questioning whether any of this still makes sense. The convenience store lights felt strangely comforting after late runs through humid streets, breathing hard under vending machine glow at midnight. Some dreams survive in tiny places now, inside notes, apps inside, voice memos inside, thoughts recorded quietly before sleep. Wins, I expected passion to stay explosive, but real life turned it into embers, small enough to fit inside exhausted people without disappearing. Exhausted hearts still glow too, to unread messages, through overtime schedules, through mornings where the mirror reflects someone trying hard not to disappear emotionally. For someone, fatigue comes from parenting, for someone from survival jobs, for someone from carrying invisible pressure through years without pause. And still certain songs, certain roads, certain lonely walks home keep reopening something alive inside the chest. The older I become, the more I respect people who continue creating after draining days without waiting to feel fully restored before dreaming again. Exhausted hearts still glow too, not brightly, not constantly, but enough to light another step through another difficult morning again. People are my fire because fire looks powerful, but never survive longer, quietly holding heat through dark hours when everything else already burned out. And maybe hope isn't the explosion, maybe it's the last warm thing you protect carefully inside yourself after exhausting years. Exhausted hearts still glow too, I know that now, because some nights the only thing still alive in me was one unfinished dream, refusing to go dark completely. Late night silence, tiny red light still glowing. The dream no longer shouted, it sat quietly now like an old photograph, creased at the corners, carried through too many moves to throw away easily. There was a time I chased it loudly, mistaking urgency for devotion, believing speed alone could force life to open faster. But years have a way of sanding ambition down, removing performance, removing noise, until only the necessary parts remain breathing underneath. Hope that aged gracefully didn't burn brighter with time, it burned steadier. Surviving disappointment without become cynical, surviving reality without asking permission to stay alive. The older version of me dreams differently now, less like escape, more like direction, less like proving worth, more like protecting something human inside myself. And somehow the quieter hope feels harder to destroy because it no longer depends on excitement to keep existing every day. I used to admire reckless passion, the kind that explodes beautifully without fear. Now I admire endurance that survives ordinary life without applause. Hope that aged gracefully, learn how to move slowly through deadlines, through heartbreak, through mornings where exhaustion arrived first and purpose came later. For someone, hope becomes smaller, for someone more sacred, for someone Not dramatically, not naively, but with enough tenderness to keep it breathing. Hope that age gracefully stayed beside me through unfinished years. Practical decisions through every season that try to convince me to become emotionally smaller. People celebrate beginnings because beginnings sparkle, but lasting hope usually looks weathered, softened by reality, yet somehow still standing upright. And maybe wisdom isn't abandoning the dream. Maybe it's learning how to hold it gently without crushing it with impossible expectations. Hope that age gracefully became less dramatic but more true, like a quiet light left on late at night for the version of me still trying to find the way home. Worn out, hope, steady glow, still warm. There was a time I thought growing older meant becoming realistic, learning which dreams were temporary and which parts of yourself needed to disappear quietly. So I organized my life into reasonable shapes, steady work, careful answers, predictable routines that look mature enough from the outside. And still, certain nights, something restless remained, a small unfinished voice asking questions I pretended not to hear anymore. I never fully outgrew that dream, even after long years, even after disappointment. Something inside me kept reaching quietly toward a future I couldn't completely abandon. The dream changed shape over time, less dramatic, less loud, but strangely deeper than when I was young and fearless. Now it survives differently through tired mornings, through responsibilities, through moments where hope arrives softly instead of all at once. I used to think passion stayed intense forever, but maybe real dreams learn how to breathe slowly inside ordinary adult life without demanding attention every day. I never fully outgrew the dream that stayed beside me through missed chances, through self-doubt, through seasons where survival alone felt difficult enough. For someone, the dream is creative work. For someone, freedom. For someone, simply becoming the person they imagined once before fear became practical. And none of those dreams look impressive all the time. Most survive privately, hidden behind schedules, behind bills, behind polite conversations about realistic futures. The older I become, the more I respect people who continue hoping carefully without pretending certainty exists, without pretending they aren't afraid anymore. I never fully outgrew the dream, and maybe that saved something inside me, something life tried very hard to make smaller over the years. People often describe maturity as letting go, but maybe maturity is learning which parts of yourself deserve protection, even when they stop looking practical. And maybe some dreams remain unfinished intentionally, not because we failed, but because they continue giving direction to who we are becoming. I never fully outgrew the dream, now I understand why it was never childish to want more deeply than the world felt comfortable with. Older voice, same horizon, still reaching. The future stayed unclear, longer than expected. Days passed quietly
without obvious signs that any of this was becoming something real.
Bills still arrive.
realistic choices for someone my age.
I used to believe that we created certainty, that enough persistence
would eventually reveal a visible path through all this uncertainty ahead of me.
Zero guarantees, unfinished dreams, that's the truth of it.
No clear outcome, no promised reward, just something inside me
Still refusing to fully let go.
Some nights I look successful enough while privately wondering how much longer hope could survive inside routines that drained everything.
And still small attempts continued, late night ideas, unfinished projects, quiet effort hidden behind ordinary conversations.
I expected
Dreams to feel exciting forever,
but many survive through exhaustion, through repetition, through difficult years, without visible progress.
zero guarantees, unfinished dreams
Still shape my morning,
still change my decisions
still gave direction
to parts of me
that refused.
to become numb.
For someone, the dream is creative freedom.
Someone, financial escape,
For someone,
simply proving
their younger self.
wasn't foolish for believing.
And none of those dreams arrive cleanly. Most are built quietly between responsibilities,
Between setbacks,
between moments of private doubt.
the older I become, the more I respect people who continue carefully,
Without guarantees, without recognition,
without certainty that anyone will notice. Zero guarantees, unfinished dreams
became their own kind of
endurance, not glamorous,
not inspirational every day,
just deeply human.
difficult to abandon.
People admire results because results look solid.
But most meaningful dreams exist unfinished
For years,
while someone quietly chooses.
then again and again.
And maybe courage isn't confidence at all.
Maybe it's investing effort
Into uncertain futures
without proof they'll ever return.
anything back.
Zero guarantees, unfinished dreams.
Still move beside me
So
now
ordinary morning,
through difficult seasons
through every version of myself,
that nearly gave up.
but answered the dream again. Unclear future, steady heartbeat,
Still
trying. The alarm felt heavier than usual today. Not painful, just difficult enough to make silence sound attractive.
for a little longer. My body moves slowly to familiar routines. Socks on the floor, cold water on my face. She was waiting quietly near the doorway again.
There was a time I mistook energy for commitment. Thought strong effort always looked sharp, confident, fully awake.
Very tired, still present, not shining, not inspired, just here again.
Breathing through another morning without needing
To feel unstoppable first. Some fatigue lives deeper than muscles do, hidden inside schedules.
unfinished thoughts.
Long weeks that never fully settled into rest.
And still, something continues returning to these roads, to this rhythm, to the quiet agreement between movement and survival.
I expected endurance to feel stronger, more dramatic, more certain.
But often it arrives
Soft-spoken,
and nearly invisible.
very tired, still present, became its own form of resilience.
Not explosive, not impressive,
Just honest enough to keep showing up.
for someone. Fatigue comes from work, for someone. From loneliness, for someone. From carrying pressure without language for too long.
And most most of it goes unnoticed because exhausted people
Still answer messages,
still go to work.
still tie their shoes quietly.
The older I become, the more I admire gentle persistence,
The kind that survives
without needing attention.
to continue existing.
Very tired,
Still present,
still matters deeply.
because some days remaining visible to yourself is already a meaningful victory. People talk about ambition,
Because it sounds beautiful.
but exhaustion teaches things
Ambition never could. About patience,
about fragility,
about staying
human. And maybe strength isn't always intensity.
maybe sometimes
It's choosing not to disappear
during difficult years.
that ask you to fade quietly.
Very tired, still present. That's how some people survive.
Not perfectly, not gracefully, just steadily enough to remain alive. Inside themselves,
Heavy eyes,
steady steps, still here. Some roads disappear the moment you leave them, forgotten quickly beneath newer places, new routines, new versions of yourself. But certain rules remain with unsettling detail, cracks in the sidewalk, the sound of crossing lights, cold air rising from empty rivers before sunrise. At the time they felt temporary, just somewhere to train, somewhere to clear my head. I didn't realize memory was building itself there quietly. Certain roads never leave you, even after years pass. They return suddenly through weather, through silence, through the way your chest tightens on difficult mornings. There's one long stretch where I nearly gave up, one intersection where anger carried me forward. One bridge where exhaustion finally turned into acceptance. And somehow those places kept aging beside me, their meanings deepening as life became heavier. Less about performance, more about endurance in ordinary days. I used to believe growth belonged to races, to results, to measurable things. But looking back now, some of the deepest changes happened alone on silent roads. Certain roads never leave you because part of you remain there, not physically but emotionally stored somewhere inside your breathing and posture. For someone, a road becomes healing. begin again. Old pavement, new heartbeat, still remembering.
Colder enter, sharper than usual. Lungs adjusting slowly against the morning, while thousands of footsteps shuffle softly
Behind barricades,
zippers closing, watches glowing. Someone laughing too loudly to hide their nerves. Paper cups trembling slightly inside tired hands.
I check my pace band 3 times already, even though I memorized it weeks ago. Nothing left to prepare except myself.
Breathing
Before the gun, every inhale feels louder than the crowd, like my body is trying to negotiate with what's coming.
the start line never looks real until you stand there inside it.
Heart moving faster than the music through the speakers.
Some runners stare forward, some stretch in silence. Some keep talking because stopping would leave them alone with their thoughts too long.
Months of training reduce themselves into this narrow space between anticipation and fear, between standing still and release.
Breathing before the gun, holding together everything I carried here through dark mornings, endured weeks, and unfinished doubt.
For someone,
This is redemption.
for someone,
Unfinished business.
for someone.
The first attempt at becoming someone braver.
And all those meanings gather quietly beneath race bibs, beneath calm faces, beneath controlled breathing that isn't fully controlled at all.
The older I get, the more I realize courage rarely feels heroic. Usually it sounds like breathing
Carefully while waiting
to begin anyway.
breathing before the gun. I can feel every year that brought me here, every version of myself standing together inside this heartbeat.
Before motion begins,
People think races begin with movement, but sometimes they begin earlier, inside the silence, before the countdown finishes. And maybe breathing isn't preparation, maybe it's the final conversation between fear and commitment before they merge into action. Breathing before the gun, the world narrows beautifully. Nothing exists now except cold air, steady hands,
and the promise to keep moving.
deep inhale, stillness breaks.
Start. Most races faded faster than expected. Photos buried, results forgotten. Conversation shortened into how'd it go a few days later.
But some finishes never left, not because of medals or time on screen. Something else attached itself to memory.
I can still recall certain final turns, the texture of breathing under stadium lights, the strange silence inside exhaustion when everything narrowed.
Some finish lines stay forever,
Not in headlines,
not in records,
but somewhere deeper where effort
stopped being performance.
and became truth. One finish held relief, another held grief. One felt like survival, another like apology
To a version of myself
I almost abandoned
years
earlier. And somehow the body stored all of it in heartbeat patterns and certain dawns, and the way my chest tightens before difficult starts.
Even now, I used to think finishes measured success,
But some only revealed what mattered enough to carry beyond the day itself.
some finish lines stay forever
Because they changed the conversation
between who I was.
and who kept running afterward.
For someone, it's crossing alone.
For someone,
Hearing their name. For someone, it's realizing
they endured something they once feared.
and none of those moments age the same way. Certain endings deepen instead of fading as years continue.
Quietly forward.
The older I become, the less I separate. Running from living, both leave marks that only reveal meaning after
different version of your life. People remember victories for a while, but the soul remembers specific efforts for reasons
Language struggles to hold.
And maybe certain races never truly finished. They continue existing inside posture, inside resilience,
Inside the way you return to hard things. Some finish lines stay forever.
I carry them still
Through ordinary mornings,
through aging legs,
through every road that asks who I became.
after crossing them.
Tape long gone,
Memory intact.
still finishing. The corner store still lights the street. Same crosswalk sound, same early air. Nothing here suggests time has passed. I know these turns before they come. The cracked pavement, the uphill curve. A route repeated often enough to live inside me. I used to think change looked obvious. New places, new results. Something visible enough to separate before from after. Same route, new self, same morning sky. Same red lights, but different lungs. Different thoughts carry through the same road. I remember where I slowed down, where I once stopped, where breathing broke. Places that used to feel farther away than they do now. Not easier, just familiar in a different way. Like my body learned something before I noticed it. I searched for growth and bigger moments, faster miles, better numbers, while most of it was hidden inside repetition. Same route, new self, not rebuilt, not replaced, just shaped slowly through mornings that looked identical from outside. Oh, for someone it's recovery, for someone consistency, for someone it's proving they can return again. And none of it looks dramatic, still something changes every time they pass through the same streets again. No sudden transformation arrived, no single run explained it. Just time, meeting effort, repeated honestly. Same route, new self, still counts, still grows. Not because everything changed, but because I did. Sometimes growth is an escape, sometimes it's returning to the same places and realizing you're no longer the same there. And the roads that watched you struggle quietly witness who you became without saying a word. Same route, new self is how I know I've changed. Not through distance, not through records, but through the person who keeps coming back. Same road, different breath, still running. The runner no one notices. The runner no one notices. I'm not the one they look for. No early pace, no sudden move, just part of the road, blending into motion. Shoes hit ground, same as theirs, but no one tracks where I am. Just another stride in the middle of everything. I've seen them pass, heard the cheers, felt the shift when someone leads, but none of it lands here. The runner no one notices, still runs, still stays, not in front, not behind, just somewhere they don't name. For someone this is everything, for me just today. No record I need to break, no place to claim. Still I move through distance without a mark, without a call, just step by step, holding my own line. I've thought about going faster, pushing more, being seen, but some came in quietly, not loud, not sharp, just a sentence that fit the moment too well. You've done enough, this is fine. Words that didn't push, just settled like they belonged in my head. No sudden drop, no breaking point, just a slow shift towards stopping that felt completely reasonable. The thought that almost won wasn't wrong, wasn't weak, just close enough to ending before something stayed. My pace adjusted without asking, not slower, just less certain, like I had already decided something. The road didn't change, but I did not fully, not clearly, just leaning toward leaving. I pushed through pain before 4 steps held pace, but this didn't feel like that. The thought that almost fun didn't shout, didn't fight, it simply waited long enough to be accepted. For someone it's fatigue, for someone just doubt, for someone it's that quiet line they don't notice crossing, and none of it looks the same. Still it leads to a place where stopping feels like sense. No argument to resist, no reason to deny, just a moment that could have ended everything. The thought that almost won still counts, still stays, not because it left, but because I didn't follow it. Not every battle is loud, some almost end before they begin, and what held wasn't strength, just something that didn't let go yet. The thought that almost won became what I passed, not clearly, not proudly, but just enough to keep going. It stayed close, still I moved. I didn't notice what would stay, no moment to decide what mattered enough to remain. Some things faded without sound, some disappeared along the way, but a few kept returning without asking. I tried to choose what to keep, what to build, what to become, but it never worked that cleanly. What stayed became me, not planned, not shaped, just everything that remained when other things fell away. There were efforts that didn't last, goals that didn't hold, things I thought would define me, but didn't. And then there were smaller things, quiet habits, repeated days that never left, even when I questioned them. I've looked for meaning in big moments, clear shifts, visible change, but this didn't form that way. What stayed became me without asking, without proof, not built in a line, but in what refused to disappear. For someone it's showing up, for someone just today, for someone it's holding on when letting go made sense. And none of it looks the same, still it gathers into something they carry forward. No scale to measure, no line to reach, just time that shaped what remained. What stayed became me, still counts, still holds, not because it's visible, but because it endured. Not everything you do becomes you, only what you don't let go of. And what you carry through time, quietly, becomes more real than anything you choose once. What stayed became me is where I stand today. Not finished, not defined, but built from everything that remained. No design, no claim, still me. It didn't start with a plan, no clear path to follow, just small things repeated without being named. Nothing stood out day to day, no moment to hold, just the same effort returning again and again. I've looked for change in bigger ways, clear results, visible shifts, something I could point to and say, What came from consistency was never loud, never clear, just something I stood in before I noticed I had changed. There were days I questioned if this was anything or just time passing through me. Nothing felt different, nothing felt new. Still I kept showing up without knowing why. I waited for proof, for something to confirm, but it never arrived that way. What came from consistency doesn't explain, doesn't prove. It forms in ways I don't track while I move. For someone it's distance, for someone just a day, for someone it's the first time they didn't walk away. And none of it looks the same, still it builds into something they didn't expect to become. No comparison to hold, no scale to match, just effort that stayed with me. What came from consistency still counts, still stays. Not because it's seen, but because I didn't stop. Not every change arrives fast. Some take shape before you notice they're there. And what you've built might already be more than you think right now. What came from consistency is where I stand today. Not finished, not defined, but further than I once thought. No moment, no claim, still it stays. The shoe stayed still by the door. No early step, no quiet street, just time passing without movement. The body held something back, not broken, not gone, just enough to say, not today. I've measured days by distance, by effort, by how far I went, but these don't fit that line. Days I couldn't run, still count, still stay. Not because I moved, but because I didn't leave this. For someone it's pain, for someone just wait, for someone it's a reason they can't explain. And none of it looks the same, still it holds them in place for now. I've waited to feel ready, to feel right, to feel clear, but these days don't change that way. Days I couldn't run, don't erase what stayed. They hold something quietly in place. The road didn't leave, it stayed unchanged, still there waiting without asking anything. And something remained even here, not emotion, but in not letting go. No proof to show, no step to mark, just time that didn't break me. Days I couldn't run, still count, still build. Not because I moved forward, but because I didn't turn away. Not every step is taken, some are held until they can be again. And what you keep in stillness might be stronger than anything you show. Days I couldn't run are part of me, not lost, not wasted, just something I carried through. No step, no run, still here. No step, no run, still here. I've been here before, this exact point where the pace fades and breath tightens. Nothing sudden, just enough to make stopping feel right. It's a place I used to accept the quiet ending. I wouldn't question, just turn around and the line I believe was mine. Where I didn't stop, wasn't louder, wasn't clear. Just one step that stayed when I would have ended it here. The same thoughts arrive on time. You've done enough, this is fine. Words that fit so easily into the moment, but something doesn't follow that line anymore. It stays just long enough to not agree. I've waited to feel stronger, to feel ready, to feel sure, but this place never changes that way. Where I didn't stop, had no signal, no sign, just a choice that didn't end this time. For someone it's distance, for someone just today. For someone it's a second, they didn't walk away.